In the first place where she found seclusion, when she was quite by herself. They relate that she opened the chest and laid her face upon the face within and caressed it and wept. The child came quietly up behind her and saw what was there, and when the goddess became aware of his presence, she turned about and gave him one awful look of anger. The child could not endure the fright, and died. Others will not have it so, but assert that he fell overboard into the sea from the boat that was mentioned above. He also is the recipient of honors because of the goddess, for they say that the Maneros of whom the Egyptians sing at their convivial gatherings is this very child. Some say, however, that his name was Palestinus or Pelusius, and that the city founded by the goddess was named in his honor. They also recount that this Maneros, who is the theme of their songs, was the first to invent music. But some say that the word is not the name of any person, but an expression belonging to the vocabulary of drinking and feasting. Good luck be ours in things like this. And that this is really the idea expressed by the exclamation Maneros whenever the Egyptians use it. In the same way we may be sure that the likeness of a corpse which, as it is exhibited to them, is carried around in a chest, is not a reminder of what happened to Osiris, as some assume, but it is to urge them, as they contemplate it, to use and to enjoy the present, since all very soon must be what it is now, and this is their purpose in introducing it into the midst of merry-making. As they relate, Isis proceeded to her son Horus, who was being reared in Buto, and bestowed the chest in a place well out of the way. But Typhon, who was hunting by night in the light of the moon, happened upon it. Recognizing the body, he divided it into 14 parts and scattered them, each in a different place. Isis learned of this and sought for them again, sailing through the swamps in a boat of papyrus. This is the reason why people sailing in such boats are not harmed by the crocodiles, since these creatures in their own way show either their fear or their reverence for the goddess. The traditional result of Osiris's dismemberment is that there are many so-called tombs of Osiris in Egypt, for Isis held a funeral for each part when she had found it. Others deny this and assert that she caused effigies of him to be made, and these she distributed among the several cities, pretending that she was giving them his body, in order that he might receive divine honors in a greater number of cities, and also that, if Typhon should succeed in overpowering Horus, he might despair of ever finding the true tomb when so many were pointed out to him, all of them called the tomb of Osiris. Of the parts of Osiris's body, the only one which Isis did not find was the male member, for the reason that this had been at once tossed into the river, and the Lepidotus, the sea bream, and the pike had fed upon it, and it is from these very fishes the Egyptians are most scrupulous in abstaining. But Isis made a replica of the member to take its place, and consecrated the phallus percent, in honor of which the Egyptians even at the present day celebrate a festival. Later, as they relate, Osiris came to Horus from the other world and exercised and trained him for the battle. After a time Osiris asked Horus what he held to be the most noble of all things. When Horus replied, to avenge one's father and mother for evil done to them, Osiris then asked him what animal he considered the most useful for them who go forth to battle. And when Horus said, a horse, Osiris was surprised and raised the question why it was that he had not rather said a lion than a horse. Horus answered that a lion was a useful thing for a man in need of assistance, but that a horse served best for cutting off the flight of an enemy and annihilating him. When Osiris heard this he was much pleased, since he felt that Horus had now an adequate preparation. It is said that, as many were continually transferring their allegiance to Horus, Typhon's concubine, Phuris, also came over to him, and a serpent which pursued her was cut to pieces by Horus's men, and now, in memory of this, the people throw down a rope in their midst and chop it up. Now the battle, as they relate, lasted many days and Horus prevailed. Isis, however, to whom Typhon was delivered in chains, did not cause him to be put to death, but released him and let him go. Horus could not endure this with equanimity, but laid hands upon his mother and wrested the royal diadem from her head, but Hermes put upon her a helmet like unto the head of a cow. Typhon formally accused Horus of being an illegitimate child, but with the help of Hermes to plead his cause, it was decided by the gods that he was indeed legitimate.